get guessing. Your task is to guess the IDs of the VIPs.
This show is mad, you know.
Welcome to the
Reader.
Who is that?
I know who this is!
Could it be?
Mrs. P. Haight, Miss Lee, Nibbles,
Rita's got it.
Mrs. West.
I have to say your timing was impeccable.
No, don't encourage it.
Wow, that was so good.
Who is that?
Who's behind the mask?
The nation's favourite guessing game is back.
So my favourite book is The Wind in the Willows. I used to listen to this story all the time. My dad always used to read it before bed. I have a favourite page, which is this page here. I used to really enjoy looking at the snow scene. So I'm just going to read a few lines from my favourite page. "Where's Mr. Badger?" asked the mole, as he warmed the coffee pot before the fire. "The master's gone into his study, sir," replied the hedgehog, and he said, as he was going out to be particularly busy this morning, and on no account was he to be disturbed. This explanation, of course, was thoroughly understood by everyone present. The animals well knew that Badger, having eaten a hearty breakfast, had retired to his study and settled himself in an armchair with his legs up on another and a red cotton handkerchief over his face, and he was being busy in the usual way at this time of the year.
Hello St Matthews, my favourite book is We're Going on a Bear Hunt, and the reason why I like this book is because in life there's always obstacles we have to face, whether we got to go over them, through them or under them. There's always a way out if you look hard enough.
Hi St Matthews, I just thought I'd share my favourite book with you. It's Artemis Fowl. It's a really good book. I really enjoyed it when I was a kid and I still enjoy it now. So I'm just going to read a bit for you. Rumour has it Artemis Fowl is responsible for every major crime of the new century. Just 12 years old and already a genius, plotting to restore his family's fortune with a spot of corruption and kidnapping.
Hello St Matthews, my favourite book is The Tiger Who Came to Tea. I'm going to read you a little bit about it. So the tiger came into the kitchen and sat down at the table. Sophie's mum said, "Would you like a sandwich?" But the tiger didn't take just one sandwich. He took all the sandwiches on the plate and swallowed them in one big mouthful. Oomph! And he was still hungry, so Sophie passed him some of the buns. This is why it's my favourite one, because the tiger eats every single thing in the house. That's why it's my favourite. You might know this story too.
Focus in the darkness.
Hi St Matthews, hope you're well. I'm showing my favourite book. It's called The Queen's Knickers, and I just think it's really funny, so I'll share a page with you. But her most special knickers are her Christmas knickers. They're a gift from Scandinavia and are traditionally decorated with real holly.
Hello St Matthews, this is my favourite book. It's called Hulls by Lewis Satcher. I'm going to read you a bit to see if you can work out who I am. The shovel felt heavy in Stanley's soft fleshy hands. He tried to jam it into the earth, but the blade banged against the ground and bounced up without making a dent. The vibrations ran up the shaft of the shovel into Stanley's wrist, making his bones rattle. It was dark, but only light came from the moon and the stars. More stars than Stanley had ever seen before. It seemed he'd only just gone to sleep when Mr. Vendancy came in and woke everyone up.
So I'd like to share my favourite book with you. It's called Vesuvius. And the reason I love this book is because it makes people laugh. It makes me laugh when I read it, and guaranteed that if you hear it, you're going to laugh too. I'm not going to read it all now, I'm just going to tell you a bit about it. It's about the invention of the toilet. And it involves the king and the queen. Well, actually, it's not the king and the queen. I think they call them the emperor in those days. Such a long time ago. And it's about what they did with their poo before toilets were invented. And then the luxury of having a toilet and how they never wanted to get off the toilet. I'm just going to read you one tiny little bit about it. And it's a really funny bit. It's when the emperor wants to go to the toilet and his wife wants to go to the toilet. But they don't want to say it because in those days they weren't allowed to talk about doing a poo. And Vesuvius said, "I'm sorry, I don't understand. What do you want to do?" "A cola cube, a sugar mouse," gasped the emperor. Still don't understand." The emperor and his wife leapt up from the sofa. "A poo! Vesuvius!" screamed the emperor. "We need to do a poo!"
Hello St Matthews. Now I wanted to share with you my favourite book. Now the book that I've got is The Boy Who Lived with Dragons. Now this is part of the Dragon series, so you might have heard about the book The Boy Who Grew Dragons. This is the next one. Now I love this book. It's a book that we've been sharing as a family because it's got lots of very funny characters in it, and I really love dragons. So I'm going to read a little bit to you now. It says, "Geese, chickens, ducks and peacocks squawked and scattered as the huge bird flapped its wings wildly, running this way and that. Seeing an ostrich ice skating across a frozen pond would have been enough for most of the class. But at this point, Dodger the dragon took up his place at the rear end of the bull once more, and this time he let out not only smoke rings, but a brilliant shot of flames." Now that's an exciting part of the story. Now I will leave it there so that you've got a chance to see what happens next, and I hope you enjoy the story. How the boy who lived with dragons.
So my favourite book is called Winnie in Winter, and I love this book. We read it all the time. We actually have a few copies of it now because you can see that it's got a little bit beaten up with the amount of times that we've read it. So this is one of my favourite parts of the book. Then she put on her woolly coat, her fluffy hat, her snow boots, her gloves, her scarf. She picked up her wand and she went outside. Wilbur already had a fur coat on, so he went outside too. He thought something exciting might happen, and he wanted to watch. Then she shut her eyes. She stood on tiptoe. She counted to 10 and waved her wand 5 times and shouted, "Abracadabra!" So that is my favourite book. I love the fact it's got the different seasons in it. I like all the magic, and I like all the animals that are crawling around in the background.
My favourite book is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Dark times have come to Hogwarts. After the Dementor's attack on his cousin Dudley, Harry Potter knows that Voldemort will stop at nothing to find him. There are many who deny the Dark Lord's return, but Harry is not alone. A secret order gathers at Grimmauld Place to fight against the dark forces. Harry must allow Professor Snape to teach him how to protect himself from Voldemort's savage assaults on his mind. but they are growing stronger by the day, and Harry is running out of time. Hello St Matthews, this is my favourite book. It's called How to Live Forever. This is my favourite page, just here in the library. Let me read it to you. When the library is closed and the night watchman has fallen asleep in his big armchair, the shelves come to life. Doors and windows appear on the back of books. Lights come on and the sound of voices drifts out between the pages. Full-grown trees spring up and chimneys begin to smoke. Staircases and ladders join the shelves into great cities, and in the distance, small dogs bark.
So my favourite book is The Boy at the Back of the Class. And I really like this book because, I don't want to spoil it, but the children in this book are just so amazing and have such incredible ideas. So I'm going to read you a bit of the book. There used to be an empty chair at the back of my class, but now a new boy called Ahmet is sitting in it. He's 9 years old, just like me, but he's very strange. He never talks and never smiles and doesn't even like lemon sherbets, which are my favourite. But then I learned the truth. Ahmet isn't strange at all. He's a refugee who runs away from a war, a real one, with bombs and bullies that hurt people. The more I find out about him, the more I want to help. That's where my best friends, Josie, Michael and Tom, come in, because together, we've got a plan.
Hi St Matthews, I'm going to read you my favourite book, which is called The Very Worried Sparrow. And it's my favourite because my grandma used to read it to me when I was little. And this is my favourite bit. The autumn winds blew, and the leaves and the trees shed their leaves. Then the snow fell, covering the ground in a soft layer of sparkling white. The sparrows thought it was wonderful. The very worried sparrow peered around him. The snow has covered up all the food, he said. Where will we find water to drink? But each morning children scattered seeds on the path and broke the ice that glazed the pond. The sparrows had plenty to eat and drink all through the winter.
Hi St Matthews, so the book I would like to share with you is called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And this is a book that I've only discovered in the last month, but it has since become one of my favourites at the moment. Now this is a story about, as it says, the boy, the mole, the fox and the horse, and it takes them on a journey. Now we're not quite sure where this journey is going to. However, there was a lot of important quotes along the way. Now, one of the reasons I also like this book is because the illustrations are really, really beautiful. There isn't a lot of words. I read this whole book in about half an hour. However, lots of the words really made me think hard, and it helped me to think, actually, is that true? Is it what life should be like, maybe? And is that affecting my life? A couple of pages that I want to share with you, that I will show you now. Nothing beats kindness, said the horse. It sits quietly beyond all things. I want to share the picture with you. There you can see the boy and the mole and the fox and the horse. Not necessarily people who you would think are friends, they're very different. However, they're all sitting there, and actually I do think kindness is one of the most important things. We can do anything as long as we're kind.
So many of you got it right.
So my favourite book is a fiction and a non-fiction book, and it's called My Name is Bob. Most of it's true, some of it's made up just to add to the story in the book. If I read the back, then it will tell you exactly what the book is. Bob and James are the best of friends. Everywhere James goes, Bob the street cat goes with him. But this story is about what happened to Bob before he found James. It's the story of Bob the ginger cat in the early days, when his life is turned upside down and he goes in search of a new home and someone to love him. Because Bob the cat had a lovely home with an elderly woman, but sadly, when she passed away, nobody took care of him. they forgot about him, and he had a really miserable life until he met James, who at that time lived on the streets because he didn't have a house either. He used to play the guitar for money. And when Bob found James and James found Bob, they turned their lives around. And if you want to read this story, I'm not telling you what happens in the end. It's in school. It's called Bob. My name is Bob, the ginger cat.
You got it. I cannot believe it.
Hello, St Matthews. I've chosen a story today that my child at home used to really like, and I just love the illustrations in these. For tea, there were sandwiches and little sausages on sticks, and crisps and jellies, and a big iced cake with candles and Happy Birthday Bernard written on it. Bernard took a huge breath and blew out all the candles at once. Whoo! Everybody clapped and sang Happy Birthday to you.
Hello. Okay, my favourite book that I've picked is George's Marvellous Medicine. I think what I like about it is the fact that he goes and creates this amazing potion full of really crazy ingredients and manages to make something wonderful. He's got a horrible granny, and the way he sort of makes this medicine, he doesn't hurt her, but she just changes a little bit. Anyway, so I'm going to read you a little bit about the story, and it's where George has put together some of the ingredients in a saucepan, and he goes to the garage to get some more ingredients. So George picked up the heavy 3/4 full saucepan and carried it out of the back door. He crossed the farmyard and headed straight for the shed, along with the hen house. He knew his father wouldn't be there. He was out haymaking on one of the meadows. George entered the dusty old shed and put the saucepan on the bench. He looked up at the medicine shelves. There were 5 big bottles there. 2 were already full of pills, 2 were full of runny stuff, and 1 was filled with powder. "I'll use them all," said George. "Grandma needs them. Boy, does she need them." So that's my favourite book. I read it when I was a little girl and really, really enjoyed it. So I recommend it to everyone.
This is my favourite book because I love ice cream. This book is called Brain Freeze. So, Izzy's grandpa was an ice cream man and he used to tell the best stories. There was one about giving a 99 flake to a pharaoh in ancient Egypt, and another about feeding fab lollies to hungry T-Rex. But what if they weren't just stories? What if his blue ice cream man had a secret magic of its own?
No messing, just get guessing.